This is the sound of conflicting energies that have to do with marketing and investing. They sometimes seem like they are opposites, but sometimes they need to find a relationship dynamic to be able to draw them together. But for the most part, they are a little bit separate, but at the same time, they need to find ways to be able to crosshatch to be able to make a successful process in the future. And at the same time, what I mean is that if you're marketing and then you're not, there's a difference between asking and taking and developing new monetary energy. And so it's like one's internal, one's external in terms of like the internal systems of a computer system to be able to try to grow monetary energy off the back end of other monetary energy. And for the ability to be able to try to do that, it takes a system that is workable to be able to make a functional process that actually has to do with systematization of certain energies that are able to make proper asset energy from the front and back end of like all of the energies coalescing. If that makes absolutely no sense what I've said so far in the podcast, but what I'm getting at after all is the necessity that we're to start to develop a functional system, and it ultimately has to do with like a burn rate like Elon Musk is very focused on a burn rate and trying to negate the burn rate, and have to do with all actions that are taken at all given times being a function of the burn rate, meaning what you're burning, the amount of capital that you're burning just by living, just by existing, by being an entity, by being a human being, by being a process, by being a consumer of some kind. You consume food, you consume air, you consume mind space, you consume people's attention in this global economy that has to do with the global economy that is at all given times a global finite economy that has to do with certain finite resources. And at the same time, every human has the ability to be able to consume every given second. And so every time that we're alive and awake, we have a burn rate. We have a burn rate of a certain consumption amount of goods and services and energy that is necessary and needed to be able to continue to survive and continue to be able to process our continuous flow on a day-to-day basis. And so what that means with that in mind is that in essence, it's a necessity to be able to take that equation and be able to bring down the expenses, and increase income, so that there's like a relationship of a dynamic of understanding of fundamental foundational energy that is connected to monetary energy in of itself, and being able to try to distance yourself from the necessity to be able to have to owe more monetary energy and be able to get connected more so with nature, so that it's possible to be able to find the monetary energy that's within nature energy to be able to make that trade, so that you're on the right side of the trade as opposed to the wrong side of the trade, where too much leverage and hedge is done on monetary energy necessity, where there's too much and too high of a burn rate necessarily, as opposed to making the equation easier on the process of yourself by way dumbing down the necessity for monetary energy and trying to scale up all other energies in essence by bringing down costs, bringing down expenses as a significantly low fraction and percentage of the amount of income that comes in at all given times in terms of anybody's global equation for being able to develop monetary energy as a source or as a function for activity and action and consumption rate. So it's like 1% is an ideal amount of the monetary energy that's needed out of 99%, trying to hold 99% in monetary energy that's freed up for investing is like a realistically ideal equation. If you can get your expenses down to 1% out of 100% of income necessarily, which is really, really incredibly difficult to do, obviously, and it's really almost significant. Even call it 2%, but significantly, if you can do that, then you can invest 98% of capital. It just causes significant formation for growth, asset structure, and structuration. And so what I meant in the very beginning by talking about the separation between, in essence, marketing and investing energy is, in essence, those two things. Is marketing is more like a burn rate. You have to focus on the burn rate when you're marketing. You're doing marketing and you're burning your life. You're burning your life resources by burning your energy into the burn rate equation, in essence. And so you're burning energy and burning consumption of day-to-day goods in terms of eating food and all of the energy that goes into that equation, having to wash clothes and all these things to be able to keep that foundational human energy alive and keeping it moving, in essence. Whereas the investing energy on the back end is the thing that I was talking about, is the monetary energy that you want to, because that's separate from a human being. That's not internal energy, that's external energy. That's the type of energy that's external that you want to be opposite of the energy where it's sucking typically the human energy, the on the ground marketing energy, which is the human energy, in essence, is sucking the monetary energy down, because all of our real life lives are always demanding of monetary energy. They're always demanding of it. So if you have to say no, you have to develop a brazen significance, thick skin to be able to say no to the rest of the world, say no to your friends, and just have asset friends just find people that are assets of the world, find them on the internet, and just connect with people that are just assets in essence. So you just have an asset network at all given times, and only people that want to make you money, which is very hard to do. It's very hard to find those type of people. So you have to really scour the internet, scour for all different walks of life to be able to find people that are assets like that just want to bring assets into your life. It's very difficult to actually filter out and have this significant filtration process. So that's why developing this equation of like 2% or even 1% of expenses of 100% of your total income necessarily, or 100% of your resources of monetary energy is sort of an ideal equation when you've got that right process and that right network around you, surrounding you with the right people in essence. So that monetary energy is like it's a push and pull, but typically that human energy, that marketing energy is pulling downwards the monetary energy, whereas if you have a wide enough spread, then that push and pull energy is a little bit opposite. If you've got 98% in assets to be able to invest every day, then it starts to push that spread outwards and push that spread upwards and outwards. And that's in essence right now in effect what we're trying to do. Right now in effect what we're trying to do is in essence there's been a conscious effort to be able to try to make that equation of 1% or 2% of human energy that is being attributed to try to develop that equation, which is very difficult. It's been very difficult, and it's taken time to develop that process. So now we're trying to put it into effect and try to go to the mountains. We're trying to go into the mountains in the next couple weeks, in the next week and a half or something. We're trying to go to the mountains to be able to implement the push and pull relationship, dynamic energy between the marketing and the investing energy in essence, and trying to make it more of a push relationship. So we're pushing the monetary energy up and then pulling down the expenses. We're pulling down the expenses and pushing the monetary energy up. So it's not like a pull energy where we're pulling the monetary energy down towards the expenses, down, and creating a magnetism towards expenses and focusing on internal and trying to focus on the opposite. We're trying to focus on the business. We're trying to focus on global philanthropy energy and trying to develop more global philanthropy energy by developing more monetary energy to add to consistently add to building the global philanthropy energy grid. That has to do with building the company Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios. So we're going into the mountains in the next week and a half. I've been talking about going to Asia like in the next month and a half, something of that effect, something to that nature. We have Hong Kong back on the table. We're trying to get to Hong Kong. Hong Kong would be kind of an ideal place to go, I guess you could say, in the meantime, in terms of all the business energy that's in Hong Kong necessarily. So we're trying to see about that. There's a couple things on the table, but trying to actually follow through. Trying to follow through and develop like a hedge fund mindset in essence, but also like a hedge fund type of action taking within the next week and a half to 2 weeks to 3 weeks in essence before trying to get to Asia in essence. We're trying to develop this hedge fund mindset and hedge fund actions to be able to start to push out and widen out the spectrum, widen out the pool, widen out the spark plugs to be able to add more monetary energy to the equation so that it's a push energy. It's a push energy as opposed to a pull energy where the monetary energy is being pulled down. We're trying to push the monetary energy upwards against the human energy that is the marketing energy in essence, and so have the pushing the monetary energy upwards by trying to invest more and harder and trying to leverage by leveraging leverage within with other networks. In other words, connecting to other networks, starting something of a type of a hedge fund of sorts, but with connecting a couple close by resources with some close friendships. In other words, with some closer ties and such things to be able to start to develop this circular and cyclical based on necessity. It's also out of necessity, by the way, that dynamic between the push and pull dynamic relationship between the marketing and the investing energy. In essence, it's push and pull because sometimes when you're trying to lower expenses, it's still actually pulling on the monetary energy. It's pulling down the monetary energy. In essence, when you're just trying to lessen expenses, you're not focused on pushing the monetary energy up, not focusing on pushing the monetary energy up. So in the meantime, trying to figure out to focus on ways to bring down expenses and bring down costs, it's actually still been a pull relationship, and the monetary energy has been being pulled down, whereas we're trying to shift the ebb and the flow to now sort of push more so on the monetary energy upwards and develop cyclical cycles to be able to push the monetary energy in essence by adding different partnerships that have to do with different leverage, that have to do with different types of energies that are within that leverage, that are different sources and resources for spinning different energies that are connecting to each other, that are in essence also trying to coalesce because they all have to do with one schedule, one timeline, one time frame to be able to facilitate following through with each of these. And so the dynamics each day as they unfold will be mentioned each day on this podcast necessarily to be able to just also try to add and contribute to different specific plays that are hopefully being made. But also we want to try to get a couple steps past actually taking actions to try to see some results before reporting on them so that hopefully we have some positive indicators or indications of some future growth or future dynamic, or clearing some future indications of future like lines that are crossed, or certain goals or gates that have been crossed, I guess you could say, so that hopefully upon passing those gates we've already achieved a certain accomplishment of a certain goal that's a certain measurable item that's hopefully achievable enough, and we already have a couple certain partnerships in line. We've been contacting them in essence to a certain extent. We're also still continuing to try to facilitate, continuing contacting some of the partner networks and such things, but activating them is yet to be done in many of the sides to that is still sort of in the works, I guess you could say. And so that has to do with the forward motion, the forward going motion that we're trying to keep in line. And so as we go forward the next few days, we're trying to develop a little bit of correspondence, a little bit of the coordination aspect to be able to try to facilitate just the future plans and the logistics of getting a little bit of motion in motion. And we're actually needing to change locations sometime soon, so we're just trying to stay focused on that, and also the future locations on that, and just dealing with dynamics and logistics for trying to make the like some changing of locations practical and possible to facilitate and viable to be able to follow through with the conceptual game plans and such things. But ultimately there would have to be, and it seems it comes down to a necessity based on necessity of action taking that has to do with timelines and time frames that are sort of based on need and necessity, as I mentioned, which has to do with time, and also like a lack of time, for so to speak, so that therefore causes a necessity for action. And that has to do also ultimately with that push and pull dynamic relationship at the same time as well, to where there's a burn rate at many given times, to where like certain times where there's elements of dynamics being shifting in a back and forth sort of a dynamic, or type of a shifting and swaying type of a dynamic, to where it causes certain type of actions to be sort of necessary in that instance. And so we're trying to facilitate taking some of those actions. And so it's a little bit like daunting and at the same time peculiar, and a little bit strange and foreign and such things, to be able to uncover and look into new directions that are peculiar and try to unfold also with the audience, with this podcast that doesn't necessarily exist. I don't think there's a podcast with, or an audience with this podcast, but nonetheless it's meant to try to generate continuous and more ongoing like word energy, I guess you could say, word energy that's trying to aggregate so the AIs can read the energy that we're trying to put into these podcasts and such things, so that hopefully it adds some more energy and we can actually continue to make more content, so that more of that content does eventually add to the investing energy, I guess you could say, because in the some aggregate energy and such things. And that's really the process of trying to continue to spark new cyclical compounding energy processes as we continue to travel. But we're going into the trees, we're going to the forest to try to hopefully start to take some actions, because there's a little bit of necessity in terms of sparks that are reciprocal sparks at the same time, like an engine spark plug. Like there's two sides to the cylinders in essence. There are two sides on a V8 engine in essence, where one goes up, the other one goes down, and that's somewhat cyclical, or somewhat symbolic of a conceivable, not exactly partnership, but like a dynamic that's being visited in the trees, in the woods, in the Midwest, in the U.S. in essence, where we're trying to, in the middle of the U.S. in essence, where we're trying to go to be able to start this spark, to be able to have enough energy, and monetary energy as well, to be able to try to facilitate some more of the travel, to be able to then be able to continue to try to spin around for some more monetary energy, to be able to try to scrape the world for more monetary energy, to be able to try to continue to scrape the world for more deals and processes that also can continue to conceptually and conceptualize for more future and further growth, to be able to continue to expand and extend like vines and veins and such things, to be able to extend in green vines and veins into the world and into the earth, to try to continue to connect with more deals and continue to connect more vines and veins that are green from those deals, to be able to continue to just grow a network and reach, to be able to add more green to the global good of the world, hopefully, and try to redevelop an organic groundwork and foundation in the system, in the foundation of the ecosystem of the globe, of the whole planet, of the world, to be able to try to plant new soil, to be able to try to plant new forests, so every square foot of the world, of the Earth's world, can start to develop new trees, new growth, new flowers, and try to develop a new fertile world, so that every inch and corner and aspect of the world is possible to be able to is possible to become fertile for growth, and like replanted for new nutrients to be able to start to blossom from all aspects of all parts and corners of the world, in essence, and like focusing on the land that's available in all around the world to be able to make the vines and the veins that are all green energy, in essence, to be able to continue for that green energy to spread to all of the people, to then spread it back and forth to the soil and back and forth to people through the essence and the connectivities of flower veins and stints and trees, that is a continuous fluid anatomy that connects the nature and humanity and humans and nature and flowers and plants with humans and humanity, and the interworking systems of the root-centered systems of the global garden that connects us all, including human beings being part of that garden as ourselves, different flowers and unique items like snowflakes, more or less, to be able to add value all to each other, to the global forest and the global rainforest that we're trying to continue to make in a globally attempting to beautify the rainforest that we all are connected by in this global ecosystem of the planet Earth, to make it as many assets as possible by as much philanthropy energy being birthed as possible as we continue to step forward and continue to try to take you with us in the journey onward, forward, that hopefully we can try to blossom from in a place that really has some more partnerships that can help to be able to try to add some continuous perpetual value to the equation of global philanthropy energy, yeah! Alright, thanks again for now. Bye, Dinky Tech. Piece by piece, we'll try to keep you posted and hope that some things work down the line. Thanks. Bye, Dinky Tech. Change for Games Studios. Dinky Tech. Change for Games. Bye. Peace. Bye.